tier.
We're gonna do another.
We're gonna do
We've
one
gone
more.
past right. We've
We're
gone.
gonna wipe it exactly 5 minutes.
All
Alright,
It's good.
worm off the string. This is Grix's test time.
Oh no, that one, he called worm off
Duty
the
failed.
string! We're on
So
the
anyway,
string,
due to the way that energy works on the Shard of Grixis, that's why necromancy is so popular there, because it's there's a lot of energy readily available to be able to put into zombies. And so Nicol Bolas is actually a practicing necromancer as well as a practitioner of many other profane
Second hit.
arts.
Wow, that's some real wacky
Third
shit,
hit.
really.
Real-
I
okay, we're
actually
good.
own a magic deck and think it's pretty cool. I just have not played it like ever.
Yeah, Magic's
So
a
yeah,
very
I have
fun
one
game.
too. I
have,
just like listening to Willie rattle off that because
Sure.
It was created
Good
by
boys.
Richard Garfield in I think like
It would be some
1982.
motherfucker named Garfield.
I mean,
Was
Richard
on,
Garfield
you're
is like
looking for
a genius that's probably designed most card games that you enjoy.
Oh, no,
Okay,
Uh,
lasagna looking forehead ass.
Damn. Okay. But yeah,
Shots fired.
Richard Garfield is like a very famous game designer. He worked with Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro to create a collectible trading card game. The first set of Magic the Gathering released was Alpha. Nope, I'm not actually. This is all from memory.
The free encyclopedia.
car.
Bagel, I don't have Shirk.
Kevin is not in chat, I'm pretty sure.
Anyway,
This is a worm off the string run.
I'm just gonna start talking about Plains of Tarkir now, because that's another one of my favorite plains.
Worm off the string isn't piss of fire.
Yeah, so Tarkir is basically sort of like a different version slash like what's the word, like simulacrum, I guess.
Oh, it crumbles down time, eh?
Of like sort of Genghis Khan and like the nomadic tribes peoples. It's like similar to that kind of idea where it's a lot of basically warring tribes.
What's this one?
And so the main problem on Tarkir is sort of the conflict between the humans and the dragons of the plane, wherein they're vying for power because there are limited resources.
It's starting to scaly shit.
So during the first block of the Tarkir cycle is when basically it's sort of all-out war between humans and dragons. And there's a lot of cards about the conflict between them. However,
Here's
the...
what- You know what? Here's what I want to know. I want to ask the group this, the people who play Magic. What's your favorite deck?
First hit.
Grixis Control.
Red.
Second hit.
What?
Yeah,
Just red.
I really only
Just
play
give me
DDH.
colors, bro, because I don't know Magic that well.
Red and blue all the way.
Red, blue, black Control.
I'm gonna shit my hand all over your face, and you're gonna fucking like it.
White,
fair.
artifact, progenitus deck.
Shit.
That
I'm
actu-
getting technical.
that-
The only thing I know is that I currently have like a green and blue deck. That was a lot of
That's
air
good.
That's
control.
what you cringe posting.
You
You
might
have the
be.
most beta cuck deck.
I don't. Wait, who?
I
does?
definitely really respect white black stacks as well. That's what I play in EDH. That's Elder Dragon Highlander, a format created in response to the.
Alright, I remember asking.
That's a format created in response to Landslide. To growing concerns amongst multiple player games that traditional formats were less enjoyable when with a lot of people. Corners are safe, by the way. So the point of Elder Dragon Highlander is that you have a commander of your deck,
Middle.
which rests in a separate zone than the rest of your deck and can be summoned at almost any
commander?
time.
Might hit a clean shot.
And so basically the idea is that you pick a commander and then build your entire deck around that with cards consisting only of colors in their color identity, which is any color symbol that appears on the card. So say if I were to pick the legendary creature Nicol Bolas for my commander, I could pick cards that have black, blue, or red in them, or any combination thereof. And so it's a lot of fun to sort of build around that and work with sort of
Makes sense.
themes and build interesting decks and whatnot to face off against other people. Stacks is the basically sort of deck archetype that focuses on having people basically do a lot of sacrificing of their stuff And it's usually mutual, so you have to
That's
sacrifice
what I
things
love.
as two.
And then right.
That's right.
So it's a lot of it is basically
Right?
you have to have a certain amount of value generation in order to offset your own
Thing.
losses from your cards. So I think it creates a really interesting dynamic of having to balance out like your board control and like what cards you have in hand, waiting for responses and whatnot. I've got Reyna. And beyond that, it's just really fun to watch people squirm at the table. The casual black things. Not like that, sorry.
What?
Black.
Almost had a gamer brew.
uh,
Go down.
Black is a color identity that's very famous for sort of focusing on sacrifice, yellows, north, orange, south. Like sacrifice and value and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
Holy shit, I'm cringe posting. Okay. Like value and sacrifice and stuff and whatnot. So a lot of the things where you have to sacrifice things come from black, where a lot of the value generation comes from white and its ability to make tokens and enchantments very easily.
Yo, can I keep it a $1.50 with you, Willie?
Yeah.
I regret asking this question now.
That's a shame. Because I could.
No. Here's the
Okay,
thing.
so this is
I
rock
feel
throw,
like I
and nothing
respect
happened.
it, but it's more like, damn, this is a lot of shit I don't know, and I wish I did know.
Okay, so basically,
And by morning, I'm going to forget.
So I can tell you a little bit about the blue-green color identity, which is otherwise known as Simic, originating from the plane of Ravnica, which is otherwise known as the City of the Guilds. The plane of
I'm gonna have to
Ravnica.
join Kevin, honestly, because like I'm so fucky right now.
The plane of Ravnica is actually one gigantic city that spans across the entire plane. So it's a super interesting setting and actually one of Wizards' most popular settings, which is why we've revisited it a few times. So blue-green is actually known as Simic, and the Simic Combine are a very interesting
So Breeze,
collection
how's
of
that
people.
business going?
And
How's that business going?
What business?
basically
GTA business.
the whole gist of it is that they're sort of super focused.
Tumults.
They're sort of super focused on like
Nice.
I also have high sorties
genetic
set up.
mutation and like ensuring that things can like evolve. Basically, they're basically sort of like evolution at all costs kind of thing. And so there's a lot of moral issues with the work that they do, but they end up creating a lot of good work between
Really? On God,
the
I'm not
trees
gonna
that
lie,
they.
I'm waiting for you to finish what you're gonna say, so I can just end it with anyway. Here's Wonderwall.
Yeah, I know.
Also go into the
Step
explosion.
into the explosion. So yeah, the Simic Combine is really interesting.
He's still going.
Basically because
Yeah,
of
he's still
the
going.
sort of moral implications that they have. Another one of my favorite planes is Innistrad, which is actually based on both Gothic and
And light
Lovecraftian
parties?
horror.
Oh, do we really only have the one? Oh, nice.
And so a lot of the reason that of its popularity as a horror-themed block is because of the introduction of werewolves and flip cards, otherwise known as transform cards,
Hey, Elliot.
wherein you can
Yo, what's
actually
up?
flip them
How you
over
feel
in the
about
middle of the
D&D?
game.
I'm very down for it.
D&D is actually another game created by Wizards of the Coast, the creators of Magic the Gathering.
Suck a fucking dick.
Uh,
Stop.
Anyway,
I believe Dungeons and Dragons was originally created by what was his name? I cannot remember the name of the Reyna go down.
Because it's if you want to know the setting,
Orange
it's something that I've
South,
come up
Orange
with
South.
Jacob. Thanks. It's something that me and other people came up with. It's pretty jank. So it's basically, Escape from New York.
Not really, no.
Okay, well, it's that, except it's Florida, and it's because Disney owns it, and everybody plays a character that it has a reason to be arrested by the Disney Corporation, who is
I'm already down.
I'm thinking of running it the same way Kyle runs Ruby, honestly.
Speaking of running things, the Guild of Azorius,
shit.
as part of the city of Ravnica,
So,
is basically in charge of laws
Kyle.
and judging things. Make sure you go to the left. So they create all the laws, and their magic is actually fueled by laws. So basically, the stronger and more rigorous the laws are, the more powerful the Azorius Guild becomes. And so they're basically diametrically opposed by the Dimir, which are actually rumored to not exist because they're sort of an underground guild that most people believe are a myth,
Son of a
despite their
bitch.
actual existence. Make sure blue goes south for this. And not
Hey,
that,
stream, how's it going?
not the color blue in Magic the Gathering, which is focused on control and card draw
I
in most
just
cases.
wanna die. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Will you not let us speak after that? Listen.
But yes, the Guild of Demir actually focuses a lot on trickery because its color identity is
Hey,
blue-black.
Kyle, are you there right now?
So it's
Don't
really
talk to me and my son ever again.
it's
I just want to know if Kyle's there. Like, I want to talk to him about running split grooves.
it's really interesting the way that color identity
Kevin?
often informs the way that cards
Don't.
interact with each other. Especially
Still
as
going.
the game of Magic has evolved,
That
a lot of
wasn't me
color
leaving it
identities
alive,
have
my Discord
shifts.
crashed.
And so it's super interesting to see how like green has moved into sort of the field of artifact destruction over time, whereas that used to be part of white's
Yellow one.
identity.
Yellow two.
Meanwhile, black has done a pretty consistent job
Orange.
of maintaining its focus on sort of greed and like power with sacrifice and whatnot. So like the whole design of Magic the Gathering is super interesting to me in general. And a lot of that is exemplified by
Yes! I got it!
Mark
Got him,
Rosewater's
Steven.
podcast Drive to Work.
No fucking clip. That's too
Um,
close.
It's tragic.
That was on
You
me.
hate to see it. Oh, this is about to be the time, huh? Uh-oh.
And
Here,
so
have a-
now it's time for Tumult. It'd be really nice if we had protection from this guy, because protection
Hey,
makes
hey,
it so that you
suck my
cannot target things or do
suck
damage
my-
to them.
Suck my ween, I gave you Tactician.
I appreciate it. Protection would be significantly more efficient, though.
We'll explain the unsets.
Okay, so the unsets actually originally started. They're basically joke sets. Insofar as that a lot of the cards in them have very sort of strange or uncommon mechanics to
Yellow
them.
Y'all just want to start talking about
Yellow two?
SCPJs at this point.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so
Orange.
the SCP wiki actually started on 4chan. Interestingly, I just inted the whole group.
Oh, I'm dead.
Kyle LB3.
Left,
Oh.
stay left. Got very lucky.
Yeah,
oh,
see you
Raina's
guys.
did it.
I did
Raina's
have the home
smart.
gang.
Wait, shit.
Oh, Raina can't
Oh.
hear me. I don't have home gang.
But anyway, so the SCP wiki actually originated on 4chan.
Hey,
as
really should.
part of the
More
B-board,
importantly- More importantly, everyone should go and donate to it because right now they're having legal trouble.
Raina has living dead up or walking dead up.
I
not
have
healer.
I have
Make
been
sure you Benny.
Yeah, healer.
Go
Okay.
support your local SCP.
So
wiki.
yeah, it actually started as part of 4chan on the B board, with the original SCP being 173.
On the X
Was it actually on the X board? Okay, apologies.
yeah, it was on X.
Started with 173, otherwise known as the statue or the peanut.
Is this 2 or 3?
This is 3.
Okay.
Yellow one.
And so
Yellow
the original post actually just consisted of pretty
Orange.
much what's still on the website at the moment, although the artwork has changed due to copyright issues. So because of that, it's
Right and
definitely
left.
been like sort of a hallmark in terms of just seeing what SCP is about, and it's definitely grown over time as the amount of people interested in it has grown.
Turning the ball so you guys can get.
We
with
now
this
have
match.
5 different generations of SCPs, which is extremely impressive just in terms of like people's commitment to the actual thing,
I
as well as
cannot
other.
fucking believe that we cleared this. Jesus Christ! Off the string, baby!
Wow.
Dude,
I literally just.
it's a katana.
Why was it so clean?
Oh my god.
Good job. Good job.
Lily's voice is literally white noise.
Why is that so... Wait, I was...
Also, Raina, I'm so glad you noticed I didn't have home.
Oh my god.
I'm
Yeah,
so glad.
I was like, wait a second. I know.
I wanna
Cooldown.
die.